Alright, welcome back to Fight Talk, where we talk combat sports. My name is Austin Ullman, and today we're going to preview the worst pay-per-view of all time. Not actually. If we want to look at the bright side, we could say this is a double title fight pay-per-view. If we don't want to look at the bright side, we could say Justin Tafa and Taliesin Teixeira are the third fight on the main card. Some other fighters on the main card. We've got Jimmy Crute and Rodolfo Bellato, Jake Matthews and Francisco Prado. Sorry. I don't even know him. Look at some other names on the prelims. You've got Wang Kong and Bruna Brazil. I didn't see this, but Ilya's younger brother is fighting on this, so I'll watch that. But otherwise, just a tragically bad pay-per-view. But we are going to get the rematch of Dricus Du Plessis and Sean Strickland, which is kind of the fight that nobody was asking for, but we're still going to get just because it had to happen. Listen, it's understandable. Co-main event, Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez. It's a fantastic fight. Fantastic fight for the women's strawweight division. It's a good fight. It should be an exciting fight. And they're actually both minus 110 right now. So it's also going to be a very, very close fight. I'm going to go with Zhang Weili. Suarez, this is the biggest fight of her career, obviously, and she deserves it. She's deserved it for a little while. She's looked very good. So that's going to be a good fight. Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis. Let's talk about it. So Sean Strickland obviously suffered that loss last year to Dricus Du Plessis. First got the belt by beating Adesanya. The crazy upset there. And then Dricus in Canada loses. And now he's fighting Dricus in Australia. So Sean Strickland and his title fights have gone Australia, Canada, Australia. Just kind of shows you how the UFC feels about Sean Strickland and how much of a headline they actually want him to get. But he did just beat Paulo Costa in a rather boring fight. I mean, it was pretty boring, but it was the Sean Strickland way. And what I respect about Sean Strickland, he gets the most out of what he has. He's not that athletic. There's no reason he should be competing in any sport with guys like Dricus and guys like Izzy in his division and Hamzat. Those guys are specimens, right? They are incredible athletes. Sean Strickland's not an incredible athlete by any means, but he absolutely is violent, and he gets the most out of what he has. He's a fantastic, just round by round, winning rounds, defense, awkward style fighter, and he does it really well. The one fight where it really hasn't helped him was this fight. The close fight against Dricus, where Dricus beat him 3-2. Everyone's pretty confident on that, but it was a very close fight. For Dricus, it's been obviously Strickland wins the belt, defends against Adesanya last fall, wins that, and that faces us with this rematch. Again, good names in this division. Hamzat's in this division. Adesanya's in this division. A lot of good names in this division. This is the last fight we needed to see. We'd already seen it. People talked fight of the year, really interesting. It wasn't that interesting of a fight. They were both really bloody. Their faces were messed up. It wasn't a boring fight. It wasn't a terrible fight. But it was not as near as exciting as people made it sound. If you don't believe me, go back and watch it. What I can say is this. It is a very close fight. I don't see this going to a finish. I just don't see it. If anyone's going to do it, it's probably Dricus, right? Unless there's some magical Sean Strickland punch like on Izzy in that fight. I just don't see how that would happen in this fight. I think this is going to a decision. I think it's going to be really close again. I think Sean Strickland fights with that crazy, weird-looking style that is actually very effective again. And I think we kind of see a lot of just the same fight we saw already. I think Dricus is going to win. I think it's going to be close. I just think Dricus is a little bit better. I think he's a lot more athletic. I think he's a lot more talented. But again, Sean Strickland gets the most out of what he has. But with that being said, I think this is Dricus again. He's proven to be a really good champion. He has. There's a lot of questions. And then he had that dominant win against Whitaker. And since then, you can't really hate on anything he's done. He's just been really effective. And he's another guy, too, that has a very awkward style. The way he moves forward and the angles he punches with, it's really awkward, but really effective. Very, very effective. And you can't argue against it. You can't. You just cannot argue against it. So that's the story with this fight. After the fight, what happens? I think it's Khamzat Chimaev. I think that's obvious. Adesanya just lost. The other one is Mavov, which after the win against Adesanya, Lorisenko, Paul Felder, they were like, he should get the title shot. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Number one, it's clear Adesanya's not the same fighter. Number two, Khamzat's been asking for this, waiting for this, and has dominated everybody. He just broke Robert Whitaker's face. There's no reason he deserves this title shot over Khamzat. Khamzat's going to get it. Everybody knows that. We've been promised it. So, it's going to be Khamzat and Dricus, which I think is going to be one really good fight. It's going to be one heck of a fight. Because this is an interesting clashing of styles. Two guys who really like to be aggressive and go forward, and two guys who are just really big. They're just really big for 185, and really built. So that'll be a great fight. But I won't get ahead of myself too much. After the fight, I'll talk more about that and talk more about what's next for the division. Other than that, there's not a lot of guys. That are going to make a run anytime soon. I don't think at the belt. Again, I think I've been clear about it. Khamzat's going to get it. And listen, there might be some canceled fights in there. There might be some weird stuff. But I have a hard time believing this guy's going to give it up for a really long time. And he's going to get it by the end of the year if he gets in the ring. If he gets in, he's going to get it by the end of the year. No doubt about it. Khamzat Chimaev will be your champ. He will beat Dricus. It's so obvious. It's the most obvious thing. It's just a matter of if he can get in there. So there you go. I think Dricus beats Sean. I think Khamzat beats Dricus. Again, I'm excited. I'm always excited. It's pay-per-view weekend. But the card, the fight night in Saudi Arabia that we just watched this past weekend was a heck of a lot better. A heck of a lot better. Sergey Pavlovich, MVP, Shar Magomedov, Israel Adesanya, Nasruddin Imavov, Vinicius Oliveira. And here we've got Dricus, Sean, Weili, Suarez. And that is it. That is it. And no Australian fighters in the main event or co-main event. And not a single one of the well-known Australian fighters. I mean, the most well-known Australian fighter, I guess, is Justin Tafa or Jake Matthews. So, not a great look. Australia not getting their best pay-per-view. Their pay-per-views are never loaded much. Even in the main card, they usually don't. They don't fill up too well top to bottom. But this one's really bad. And Dana likes to talk about how many buys pay-per-views do and what arenas are like and things like that. Just ask yourself this. If you're wondering if the UFC likes Sean Strickland, they've gone Australia, Canada, Australia. And this is his pay-per-view lineup for this fight. And as I scroll here, it's not on here right now, but his pay-per-view lineup in Canada, I think it was 297, was just as bad. It was horrible as well. Then we had that just absolute snoozer. I think it was women's bantamweight co-main event, Pennington. It was just so bad. So Dana will be able to look back and say, well, this thing did not do too well. And that's not necessarily because of Sean Strickland. It's probably got more to do with who he put on the pay-per-view. So it'll be a good main event. I'm excited for it. I think Dricus is going to win. And I will have a post-show after the fight recapping everything that we saw, or maybe the lack of things that we saw. We'll have to find out more next week, but for now, I'm Austin Ullman. Thanks for tuning in.